Hey there, and thanks for watching. So this video is going to be 3 parts, and the first is just me blathering on for a minute, showing you what this drone actually looks like. And then we'll have some flight footage, and then it'll come back to the turntable where I discuss in greater detail what you need to do in case you want to build your own X8. So real quick, the basic specs of this are, it's running pretty standard or bog standard 5-inch motors. These are 2306.5s, 1700 kV. Really basic, cheapest of the cheap, $40 for a set of 4. Obviously you'll need 2 sets for an X8. My battery is a 4500 milliamp hour 6S battery. I could have gone by with a smaller, like 3000 or 3300, but I opted just for the bigger pack for the hell of it, and I really enjoy the longer flight times. You'll need 2 speed controls, 4-in-1s, and then a flight controller that allows you to connect 2 of them together to get 8 total motor inputs. And otherwise, I'll go into the other stuff later, and right now we'll just go right on to the flight video, so enjoy. Alright, here we go with liftoff. So the one thing I really like about this particular setup is, even though I've got only twice the number of motors and pops, the drone feels like it's a lot louder. It sort of just appeals to that gut level of fun, impractical fun almost. I guess like driving something like a Dodge Viper, just lots of displacement. It's not always going to be faster, or definitely not more maneuverable, but just fun. And that's what I really feel with these X8 drones. In this run, I'm just kind of whipping it around because, alright, well, I did 1 roll. I think I'm going to do 1 roll in this whole video. It was pretty cold this day, like 20 degrees Fahrenheit. I guess that's around -5 Celsius. And I have these gloves that allow me to go fingerless or flip on and off over the thumbs, and I wrapped everything up. It was just cold and a little bit of a breeze. I wasn't in the mindset to do any sort of tricks. I'm not a great pilot at all anyway, so I just felt like ripping it around, and this was my last pack for the day. My friend who I'm flying with here, Rick, you'll see his plane in a minute, said that he likes the fact that my drones are either really loud and obnoxious or make their presence known somehow, like my giant bumblebee. And I guess that makes sense because we're sharing a public space, and if the drones are a little too stealthy, it could make people feel like they're being spied on or something. So I'm overflying this little construction area that's been fenced off, and if you look in the woods, there's like a little blue or green tarp. Our running theory is that there might be a little homeless encampment over there. I haven't gone to check it out on foot. I probably should at some point. You know, just to say hi to those guys if there's anyone there. I mean, it's really, really cold. I feel bad for anyone if they're in a desperate enough situation that they're camping out in this kind of weather. And this video was shot the day before we got snow. There's about 3 or 4 inches of snow on the ground at this point. So yeah, I'm whipping it around, and I think I get about 6 minutes of flight time when I fly it harder like this. But if I'm just sort of cruising and treating this like a Cinewhoop, I get about 13 minutes a pack. And today I was just enjoying the fact that normally there was all foliage covering this whole southern area of the park. And wet tree leaves are a great way to block signal, and to overcome that you have to fly a lot higher, which I normally do. I try to honor the flight restriction at this park, which is usually 200 feet maximum altitude from the ground. On some days, arbitrarily, I guess, there'll be a NOTAM or a TFR rather, that limits to 100 feet. We generally try to abide by this. And there's Rick's plane. He just told me he's coming in for a landing. So I stopped following him. I just wanted to go fast anyway. So yeah, despite its size and its bulk, the X8 is fairly maneuverable when it wants to be. And I guess I credit Betaflight for that, forcing the drone to do the bidding of the controls. I think this was my last overflight of the suspected homeless encampment. We felt it was that way because the tarp is outside of the confines of the newly marked off construction area. I don't know what they're doing over there. I think they're renovating one of the ball fields. Some of the ball fields have slipped into sort of disrepair or reclamation state because they're just not being used as much, or they're not in ideal locations. And you see all the ball fields have some drainage issues because it's the close of the season, so they're not actively being maintained until spring rolls over. The maintenance crew, big shout out to Joe on the weekends. I think he's there every day. They do an amazing job keeping the park clean, and they're really at the mercy of nature, with wind blowing garbage and debris all over. So I'm coming in for a landing here, and I'm not landing deliberately on my pad. That's for the smaller drones, because the wind could kick up and get that canvas caught up in my props. All right, I've landed. All right, so back to the more in-depth part of the video in case you want to build your own X8. This particular drone is using leftover stuff I had hoarded and is equipped with a SpeedyBee F405 V4 flight controller and a pair of SpeedyBee 65 amp speed controls. Now I know SpeedyBee in some circles gets a bit of a bad rap, but I think a lot of it has to do, and my own experience kind of echoes this, that they target new users and were, at least at one point in the US, very aggressively selling to newbies. I've blown up a pair of their speed controls, I think because of moisture issues. I'm really not certain, but I'll chalk it up to me being fairly new in the game at the time. But ever since, I haven't had any other issues. I've got, in total, 4 other SpeedyBee stacks, and I haven't had any problems with them. This particular one, I've already put about 20 packs through it, and it flies great. I'm not flying it competitively. I'm not on the throttle 100% of the time, all the time. I'm just not doing anything with it that is like really hardcore. It hasn't survived any crashes because this particular drone, knock on wood, that's my skull, hasn't had any crashes or any hard impacts like that. If you're going to build something like this, though, I highly recommend, I have another drone that I put together that uses the DYS 2 to 8S speed control. It's an AM32 setup, and it also is paired with the DYS F722 flight controller. And I think I have that on 2 other drones, in 4-motor mode, and I've only got one DYS in X8, but I prefer the DYS because not only do you have the extra headroom and voltage if you need to go up there, but it supports bidirectional D-shot where the SpeedyBee doesn't do that well. It doesn't do it, period, rather, in an X8. And obviously, if you have another stack that you favor, that supports an X8 and you just want to get another speed control and go crazy, I recommend that. Use what you're comfortable with. Thus far for X8s, I've only gone with DYS and SpeedyBee. And, you know, if anyone's got any comments or tips or suggestions, I'm all ears for it. Once you get your hardware sorted out, all your other configuration is in Betaflight. The first thing that you've got to do is in your motors tab, specify that you're in an X8 config. And everything else is pretty much the same. This particular drone, I'm running the stock Betaflight PIDs. The only thing I've changed is that for my rate profiles, I'm using, I guess, what mimics the rate profiles that are used with, man, I suddenly forgot what it's called. I'm kind of an idiot now. Anyway, I'm running 1050 degrees per second on my roll and pitch axis, and I've got 900 degrees per second on my yaw. I'm using 0.5 exponential. I'm sure that when I look at it again, I'll be like, how can I be so stupid to not remember? But every other setting is pretty much out of the box, stock Betaflight. I'm thinking that I will try to start aggressively tune things a little bit more, but for now, I'm perfectly fine with the way it flies out of the box. I hadn't had to set up any other additional filtering because the stock filters actually work just fine. My previous experience with my X8 that I used with a camera gimbal hooked up, sticking out of it. I'm sorry, not camera gimbal. I was using a smart arm with my run cam sticking about 11 inches behind to get an interesting field of view. That was my source of vibration. Even with the battery pitched forward to try to compensate, that didn't really help. So I recommend just using a regular action cam. I think that in general, stock tuning will work really well. I limit my throttle to 66% in my rate profile as well. Other than that, no other changes are really needed in Betaflight. The version I'm using is 4.5.3. I've been running the release candidate tests, and the full 2025.12 release has just been made available. I haven't jumped to it yet. The only other thing that I added on this particular drone was GPS, and that's to give me position hold. And the only real reason I like GPS, aside from giving me speed in terms of miles per hour, obviously if you're in a civilized part of the world, you're using kilometers per hour, but the main advantage I have with GPS is to use position hold. And again, the only real reason I found that fun or useful is that I fly with other pilots that use DJI goggles, and when they turn their goggles on, if they're too close to me, it will cause a hit for a couple of seconds where I will lose my VTX. And you know, usually we call it out, but sometimes accidents happen, and having position hold gives me that sort of safety in case I am in a tricky spot at the time, and I reduce my chances of losing the drone. Previously, I'll use angle mode and just try to hope that I'm keeping my same heading, lower my throttle enough if I'm going forward, and try to pitch it back so I'm not caught in a uncompromising situation when hopefully my video signal returns. But otherwise, that's about it. Any questions or comments, please ask away in the video. And I mean, I guess if I had the time, I would try to make a video where I build another one of these from the ground up and show everything step by step. But in case someone was on the fence thinking about an X8, I hope that if this video helped them, I'm glad that that could be the case. So again, thanks for watching, and take care out there. Bye all.